or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
S-I-C-K,
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. CF Montreal Talk.
Here's the chance. Here's the chance. They've got the goal. Absolutely incredible. Cameron Porter delivers the goal. The represent Montreal Impact into the CONCACAF Champions League semi-final.
The sickest CF Montreal podcast. Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast. We're talking CF Montreal. Usually I go Mondays and Thursdays at around 2 p.m. Eastern, but tonight I'm going a little bit later. Earlier this morning, we found out, courtesy of CF Montreal, that they relieved Laurent Courtois of his coaching responsibilities. They did that, and President Gabriel Gervais was to meet with the members of the media at around 2:30 this afternoon. So I said to myself, you know what? I'm not going to do a podcast at 2 o'clock in the afternoon if the president of the team is going to comment the firing at 2:30 in the afternoon. So I'm going to wait, and I'm going to do something later on at night. But I wanted to have someone who is actually going to be at the presser there today with me, and that's why I bring in Jeremy Filosa of 98.5 FM radio, Cogeco, and formerly of EMFC Radio. Is he going to be back? I don't know, but he was back at Centre Nutrilet earlier today. Jeremy, it was good to see you there, my man.
Absolutely. It was nice to see you. Very happy that we were able to get there together. And I think all the right questions were asked. We might not have gotten all the answers we wanted, but we did our part of the job.
All right. Okay. I'm just checking to see if I'm having a microphone issue. Let me see. Can you give me the heads up that it is good?
Oh, that's better. It's better now.
Better now? Okay.
Yes.
Fantastic. So we are good to go with the mic. All right. Okay. So, look, there's a lot that came out of Gabriel Gervais' presser, and we're going to get to that in just a minute or two. In the meantime, let's just put, let's put all the information out there.
Yeah.
Laurent Courtois was hired by Olivier Renard and Vasily Krementzidis for the most part. He's a Olivier Renard hire after Olivier Renard had relieved Hernan Losada of his duties.
Yes.
Laurent Courtois had his first full season as head coach with CF Montreal last year after being formerly the head coach of the Columbus Cruise team in MLS Next Pro. Unfortunately, Olivier Renard, Vasily Krementzidis, and Laurent Courtois did not have a full season together because, as we know, Olivier Renard and CF Montreal parted ways 3/4 of the way into the season, give or take, maybe a little bit less than that. And then soon thereafter, Vasily Krementzidis left the organization as well. And today, Olivier Renard is the sporting director, of course, for Anderlecht in Belgium's first division. And Vasily Krementzidis holds a management role with the San Jose Earthquakes. But Laurent Courtois did finish the season. CF Montreal last year, once Renard left and once Krementzidis left, they brought in Corey Ray, formerly from Toronto FC, among other teams. And Luca and Simone Saputo took on a bigger role within the organization. To the team's credit, they were able to win a lot of games down the stretch and actually surprise a lot of people by making it to the play-in. First game in, they lost and got eliminated, but they did make it. This year, they start the season again, playing their first 7 games on the road. This is a trend that's been going on for quite some time, Jeremy. Mm-hmm. And the reason being is they cannot have outdoor games in Montreal because obviously, A, with the weather, and B, combined with the fact that even if the weather would hold up, the stadium is not winterized. They just can't. We're talking about not having the right seats. We're not talking about not having the right plumbing. We're talking about the water not running and this and that and all that stuff. We're talking about the field being grass, not being able to melt the snow if snow would be on it. For all those reasons, they start on the road, which makes the beginning of every season very, very challenging. If you can get out of it at 500, the good news is for the rest of the season after that, you have most of your games at home if you're playing the first 7 on the road. Unfortunately for them, they've got off to a terrible, terrible start. They have 0 wins. They have 4 losses. They have 1 tie. They've scored only 2 goals. They've conceded 9. They have a differential of -7. They're last overall in the league when you take into account only the 1 point for the tie and the -7 goal differential. They only have 6 shots on target in their last 4 games. And if you count stoppage time, Jeremy, they haven't scored a goal in the last 411 minutes. So coming off of the 3-0 loss in Nashville on Saturday night, Gabriel Gervais tells members of the media that earlier this morning, he advised Laurent Courtois that he was fired.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's not a complete surprise because, as you mentioned, the start of the season was extremely complicated. And it's not because you're just losing the games, but it's the way that you're losing games. It's the fact that you can't create anything interesting on the field. The play is it's not interesting for fans to watch. The scoring chances are not there. I mean, I said it. I mean, they're going into Nashville. They don't have a chance. And they didn't have a chance. And also, I think the fact that, you know, the starting 11 was changing a lot, but not only the starting 11. You had players switching positions. I think, you know, Clark is one of the examples that everybody will give where he just keeps changing spots on the field. Doesn't make much sense. But at the same time, Tony, you know, I count in this lineup maybe 3 players that you say, if they're healthy, they're in the starting 11. Joel Waterman, Samuel Bittt, and probably Jonathan Sirois. Maybe you can add Saliba, not even sure. But basically, you're starting from almost scratch. I mean, Gabriel Gervais can say today, we got him the coaches he needed. We got him the players he needed. You got quantity, but did you necessarily get quality? I mean, it's going to take more than 5 games for everything to stick together. But I think the problem was, unfortunately, it was not unanimous in that dressing room, the way that Laurent Courtois was coaching. And he had lost the faith of a lot of players already, especially certain guys that were there from last year. And, you know, when Donadel came in, you can say what you want, but the writing was on the wall.
Discover a world of luxury at Playground. They're one of our partners. Explore the 30,000 square foot expansion with thrilling games, gourmet dining, live entertainment located just over the Mercier Bridge, only minutes from downtown Montreal. Playground. Experience the strip without the trip. Also brought to you in part by Tibi. Launched their new Ultra Lager, refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for cool fall days. Only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can. Available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. Ultra light and ultra refreshing. And also brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America, driven to be different. Let's go back to Marco Donadel, a former player with CF Montreal, who after his playing career went to Italy, had coaching stints with one of the academy teams with Fiorentina, had a head coaching stint with a Serie C third division side, Ancona, and also had a coaching stint in Russia. His coaching resume is very, very average, to say the least. He is a stand-up guy, and he is a fan favorite. A couple of weeks ago at La Soirée des Membres, which took place at the MTELUS, Laurent Courtois was greeted by some cheers and some boos. The most applauded coach, Marco Donadel, who, during the interview process when Laurent Courtois was hired as head coach of CF Montreal, Marco Donadel was one of the candidates that was interviewed by Olivier Renard. He left a very good impression, but in the end, they decided on Courtois. As you mentioned, Jeremy, on December 30th, if memory serves me well, CF Montreal announced changes to their coaching department. Eddie Sabrango went from the first team back to the academy. Laurent Simon was relieved of his duties from the first team. One of the goalkeeper coaches, I believe, was relieved as well. And they added to the coaching staff Ludovic Taillandaire, formerly of the Chicago Fire, MLS Next Pro, who Courtois wanted to hire the year before but declined. Instead, Courtois had hired David Sauvry, who's still with the staff. Kobe Johnson, who was with the Columbus Crew too when Courtois was there, and Marco Donadel. Jeremy, the second Donadel was hired, let's put the cards on the table because I know, like me, you have a lot of experience, and we were looking at each other and couldn't believe the amount of questions in regards to Marco Donadel today, because let's put the cards on the table and let's be honest here. The second he was hired, Courtois was a lame duck coach.
Yeah.
Donadel was hired to be next in line. He knew it. Everybody knew it.
I understand, Tony, but it's the way that you do things in life. You know what I'm saying? If that's what you want to do, then you might as well have fired Laurent Courtois last year and just replaced him with Marco Donadel. Because let's just put it this way. If you go to court in front of a judge and a jury, and you're a lawyer, and you're trying to make the jury believe that you hired this guy not with the intention of replacing the head coach when he was considered for the job a year ago, I'm sorry to tell you, but the jury's going to find you guilty. They're going to find you guilty, Tony, because it's just the circumstantial evidence just leads you to believe that that's what the plan was. Now, Gervais can say what he wants. I'm not here to tell you that you should believe him or not believe him. I'm going to let people decide for themselves what they think. But again, Tony, I've been doing this for 26 years. 26 years covering professional sports. Never have I heard in all of North America, any league, any sport, a guy that was considered to be the head coach who finished second or third, whatever it is, to be hired less than a year later to assist the guy that won the job. Tony, I mean, don't put yourself in that situation.
It made for a very uncomfortable relationship. It made for a very uncomfortable situation and made for a very uncomfortable atmosphere, even though they will tell you that Courtois signed off on the hiring of Marco Donadel. Courtois had no choice but to sign off, because if Courtois didn't sign off, Donadel would have been hired anyway. I think you make a very good point, because during the offseason, Tayander, who was hired, is a Courtois hire. Courtois wanted him. Kobe Johnson, who was hired, is a Courtois hire. Courtois wanted him. So if you knew that Marco Donadel was going to be next in line, you're right. Why didn't you just bring in Donadel right away to be head coach to start the season? This way he could have brought his own assistants. Instead, now he's there. He looks to his left. He's got Courtois' guy. He looks to his right. He's got Courtois' guy. He looks in front of him. He's got Courtois' guy. Luckily for him, he's got a Bologna coach behind him and the two kids, sons of the owner, who basically wanted this to happen because their father wanted it to happen.
Well, listen.
This is a Saputo hire, Marco Donadel, and that's okay because we wish him all the best. But
of course,
here's Gabriel Gervais on when I said, you're giving Donadel 3 assistants who were Courtois hires. Will you allow him to bring his own assistant? Let's hear from Gabriel Gervais.
Je disais, oui, David est venu avec Laurent, mais que ce soit Cobier, que ce soit Ludovic, oui, on l'a passé dans le processus d'embauche. C'était un lien, oui, il y avait un lien vers Laurent, je ne vais pas le mentir, mais avant, on a pris ces coachs-là pour le club, avant tout, pour être en mode développement pour le club. Donc, c'est comme ça qu'on le voit. Et Laurent, il a eu son mot à dire dans tout ça, bien sûr, aussi dans le choix de certains joueurs, comme je l'ai dit. Mais avant tout, nous, on avait la philosophie de club et on sait qu'ils sont compétents, ces adjoints-là, et ils peuvent beaucoup aider Marco en intérim.
So Gabriel Gervais, president team, who said en français, he said, yeah, listen, yes, some of them were Courtois' guys, but they were, the club's guys too. I mean, we signed off on these hirings as well. So they're coming in. They're each going to have a specific role. Tayander's working with individual development. Kobe Johnson is working with set pieces and other stuff within the organization. So they're club hires as well, and they're going to be able to work with Marco Donadel. But at that point, I said, okay, so you're telling us that Courtois failed, but you're telling us that you brought in players to help him and you brought coaches to help him. Well, clearly, if you fired him after 5 games, the coaches that were there to save him, to help him, they didn't help him all that much. Well, so I said, did the 3 assistant coaches fail Laurent Courtois? Let's listen to the answer.
Je dirais, c'est un collectif, Tony. C'est pas juste le coach, c'est le staff au complet. Oui, qu'on doit améliorer certaines choses. Je vais prendre un exemple. Les buts qu'on prend dans des situations à coup franc arrêté, est-ce qu'on a réglé ce problème? Non, je pense que des 9 buts qu'on a encaissés, il y en a 4 qui sont dans des situations. Et vous allez dire, mais aller chercher des défenseurs plus grands, oui, il y a ça, mais c'est la combativité. Et c'est quelque chose qu'on veut voir chaque jour sur le terrain. Et oui, c'est pas juste à l'entraîneur-chef, c'est au collectif, aux tous les adjoints. Mais ton leader, ton chef d'orchestre, c'est ton entraîneur qu'il faut qu'il inculque ça.
All right, so there you have it. So he says, listen, yes, the coach was not alone. He has a staff. We have players. It's all of us. And he says, we're not perfect. For example, we gave up a lot of goals. We gave up goals on set pieces. Out of the 9 we gave up, we gave 4 of them on set pieces. We want to correct that. You can go out and say you got to get bigger players, right, but the player has to be gritty. He's got to be feisty. But at the end of the day, he says it comes to the head coach to be able to, incorporate that into the team. And this is why the head coach paid the price. Jeremy?
Listen, I mean, the reality is now this is 3 coaches in 3 years now. So if you go back to Losada, he came alone. Losada came alone.
Yeah.
Right? He got fired. Then Courtois comes in, and he's got to wait a full year to get the guys that he wants into his coaching staff. By the time they come in, he's out.
Yeah.
And now the guy who's coming in, he's got assistants that belong to the guy before him. I mean, Tony, how many years are we going to do this? It doesn't make sense. I mean, every head coach should be there with the assistants that he hired, that he chose to have the best possible opportunity of success. Every year we have a head coach that's dealing with assistants that belong to the guy before. It doesn't make sense. I mean, you got to find a way to break this cycle. And hopefully Donadel, sticks around for a while. But the average, we know, it's what now? 11. He's the 11th in 13 years. So our average is about what? A year and a couple of months per coach. And Gervais said today, yeah, but if you look at international soccer, it's 2 to 3 years on average. Okay, 2 to 3 years is still double or triple the average that we have here in Montreal. So
this is going to be the 11th coach in 13 years and 5 games.
Exactly.
Here's the challenge that I have, and I wish Marco Donadel, who's a stand-up guy, all the best.
Yes.
The challenge that I have is that you just took a head coach who had no experience in MLS and put him there, okay? Traditionally, these coaches don't do well, all right? Now, Wilfred Nancy did well here, okay? Mm-hmm. He was also an assistant for like 5 or 6 years.
Absolutely.
The different MLS coaches in the MLS, right? So he had a big knowledge of what the MLS was, and he had success here. Donadel never coached an MLS game in his life. And I know that he's got assistants around him that were an MLS Next Pro, but you have an MLS rookie coach with assistant coaches from MLS Next Pro next to him. Coupled with the fact that you have the lowest salary, the lowest payroll in the entire league. Again, I'm not very optimistic unless they go out and they buy him players. But he was asked that question today, like, what support are you going to give him? Are you going to spend money? And he answered the question with all kinds of support, but spending money for the coach was not one of them.
No, exactly. And as you mentioned, this league, it's so important to know your opponents, to know the ins and outs of your opponents. This is a mistake that CF Montreal has done in the past, to hire coaches who didn't know the league. That being said, for me, Marco Donadel is an extremely intelligent man. He knows his soccer. I think if we give him time, he can implement something. But as you mentioned, listen, this is the lowest payroll in the league. And I know that when you mentioned, Tom Bogart's tweet today, Bogart, who mentioned on X today that the team hadn't spent a single dollar on transfer fees for their DP since 2014. And he said, well, spending millions of dollars isn't guaranteed that you'll have success in your project. But at the same time, I don't remember a team that spends zero that wins championships either. So, I mean, I don't know what's the message that we're sending out to the fans, Tony. If somebody were to ask me, where are we going? Where is this organization going? I don't know the answer to that. Well, and I don't think they know either.
Look, I think it's a lot of people think that this is a self-sabotage that's going on, and they're starting to compare this situation to the Expos. And I hope it's not the case. But quite frankly, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm pissed off. I've had enough of this organization playing, being as cheap as they are. I've had enough. I'm pissed off. I've had enough. We have X amount of people watching right now. In the first 2 seconds of a Habs podcast, I'll have 1,000 times more than that.
Yeah.
I think it's embarrassing. I think it's embarrassing to be the lowest paying club every year, to have the lowest salaries every year, to spend the least amount of money on coaches every year. As a matter of fact, I was told, and I have to confirm this, that when Laurent Courtois was hired by CF Montreal as their head coach, because he belonged to the Columbus Crew organization and he was under contract and there was a penalty to get him out, I was told that up until the final hour, the club didn't want to pay the penalty to get him out, and the coach himself offered to pay the penalty. The coach
There's
himself.
another first. There's another first.
So if the coach is signing at $250,000, for example, because
And
they
the
never
payoff
pay
is-
anybody
and the
more than
payoff-
300,
And the payoff is 50,000.
and the payoff is 50 or 100, it's coming out of the coach's pocket. Now, I don't know in the end, I have to confirm if it was him who paid for it, but I was told that up until the final hour, nobody was paying for it, and the coach said, I'll pay for it.
Okay, but listen, Tony.
Is this a joke or what?
When Gabriel Gervais came in, his mandate was very clear: make this team profitable, or at least make this team break even. So what did they do? They cut into the roster. They did everything they could to cut into the fat, and they haven't added anything else since. So when you say it's embarrassing to have the lowest payroll, but it's not just the lowest payroll. It's the fact that you don't spend any transfer money on designated players. It's the fact that you don't have an MLS Next Pro team. It's the fact that you have a stadium that's the only one in the league that can't welcome games in the spring or when it's a little bit chillier. It's all of that put together that makes things look bad. And you know what? Being cheap in sports, it's like being cheap with women. It's not a turn on. People don't, it doesn't turn people on. And again, I don't want to throw the rock to Gervais here again today, because I find
he's in a tough situation.
He's in a tough situation.
I would have never taken the job. Me personally, I don't judge him. I would have never taken the job. There's no money in the world for me to be able to go up and almost, somebody said to me earlier today, it's like a Trump spokesperson goes up, she says whatever, she doesn't believe what she's saying, but she has to say it because that's what Trump wants her to say.
Exactly. And
this is when he says that he's okay with the philosophy, you actually think he's okay with it? You think that he wants to be the team that spends the least amount of money on front office staff, least amount of money on coaching staff, least amount of money on players, least amount of money on DP, least amount of money on it. They cut corners everywhere. There aren't 800 families in the world that have more money than the current ownership group. But yet, all over the message boards, people are asking if they should open up a GoFundMe so they could buy a player. This is the most embarrassing situation in all of professional sports right now. How many organizations can you name that are more dysfunctional than this one right here? How many?
No, it's. I mean, listen,
Two, one?
It's not debatable, Tony.
Three?
I mean, well, and the reality is, this team was paid $40 million to come into the league. It's now worth $450 million. Without having invested any new money, Tony. Any new money. I mean, if the idea is to try to save money here and there, left and right, but the value of your franchise is exploding. Can you imagine had they invested a bit more money in their academy, a bit more money in the stadium, a bit more money in the training center? The franchise would be worth $500, $600, $700 million today. I spoke to somebody at Forbes, 2 years ago, who told me, every $1 million an owner invests in his franchise, we give him $5 million. So let's just say you invest $30 million in your academy. The next year, the value of your franchise goes up $150 million. So what are we talking about here? Saving a couple of $100,000 on a player to get a DP or whatever? It doesn't make sense. I asked Gabriel Gervais today, I said, I know the beginning of your seasons is always tough. You start at Marie-Victorin. You're training in a CEGEP, right? Then you go to Florida. Then you come back to the CEGEP. Then you go back to Florida to play your games. Then you play 7 games on the road. This is something that we know since 2012. When will the moment come where you decide as an organization to spend the necessary money so that we don't have to deal with this?
I have his answer. I have his answer on where they are with either the renovations or studies concerning infrastructures to avoid playing the first 6 to 7 games of every season on the road in the future. Let's hear from Gabriel Gervais.
situation similaire à d'autres équipes dans le Nord où est-ce qu'il faut s'expatrier, après ça, il faut retourner, jouer sur le synthétique. On n'est pas très différent à d'autres clubs. Et oui, on est en mode étude aussi. Bien sûr, on s'attend à voir si on veut, tous les travaux qui vont être faits également au Parc olympique. Et oui, on est encore en mode étude. On est là présentement, mais ça, ce n'est pas une excuse pour ne pas bien performer sur le terrain. Tant qu'à moi, oui, on commence sur la route, c'est désavantageux. Mais écoutez, tout l'été, on va être au Stade Saputo, qui va être un grand avantage pour nous. Donc, on peut le voir des deux côtés.
You want to translate his answer?
Yeah, so he said, listen, yes, we're still studying what we want to do with our infrastructures. And he said, we also want to see what's going on at Olympic Stadium, but that's not an excuse. Other teams also have to travel back and forth. And he said, we're going to be at Saputo all summer, so that's going to be an advantage for us. The problem that I have with that answer, Tony, is that Gabriel Gervais has been there 3 years now. And every time we've asked this question, the answer's been the same. We're studying. We're studying the situation. We're studying the situation. But my question is, how long do you have to study the situation before you make up your mind? 3 years is too much, Tony. You can study for 1 year. Sure. A year and a half? Fine. After that, make up your mind. What are we doing here as an organization, as a franchise? This cannot continue like this. We know what Olympic Stadium is going to look like in 2020. Okay, if the plan is to go play there, let's start talking about that. Because people, Tony, need to be reassured that where are we going? We have a plan. This is where we're headed. A little bit like the Canadians. I hate to make comparisons, but Tony, the Montreal Canadiens, the situation is not perfect, but what they've laid out as being the plan, we see it. And that's for the fan. It's so comforting to see, okay, they said they were going to do this, they did it. I see where we're going. You know, fans need that reassurance right now. And at this moment, fans don't know if they're coming or going. And I asked Gabriel Gervais the question. Every time I open my social media and I look at one of your posts, whatever it be, all I see from fans are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fans that are literally insulting you guys. They're embarrassed of what the situation is like
Did you read on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook after the game was over on Saturday night how many comments of people saying, sell the team? Sell the team.
But at a certain point, Tony, you got to react to this. You can't be indifferent to all these messages of fans. These are fans that have supported you from day one. All they're asking for, Tony, is give us a little bit of an effort. Show us that you care. Show us that you're going to try to win something. The way it was up until before the COVID, you know? When Nick DeSantis was there, I mean, maybe we took it for granted. The stadium wasn't full. But when Gabriel Gervais, again, says today, look, our stadium is full. Come on. Like, are you really going to make me believe? Are you really going to make me believe that the effect of the season tickets doubling, basically, okay, has nothing to do with Messi and has to do with the fact that you're putting on a good product on the field?
Listen.
Come on.
The season tickets are sold because of A, Lionel Messi. Yes. B, you can buy 17 games for $1,200 and it costs more to go to the cinema. And C, people go there. It's a social gathering. They're outdoors and they enjoy the sun and they bump into people. It's like going to a dance club every now and then. But it costs a lot less.
Yes, it's true. It's true because, look, the season tickets were at 8,000 2 years ago, okay? They jumped up to 15,500 and they had never been over 10,000 ever, okay? They jumped to 15,500. They capped it off there, which was a decision taken by the organization.
I bought season tickets for $1,600 for the pair last season. If I was going to buy tickets to just the Messi game, would have cost me more than that. That's why I bought my season tickets.
So you buy season tickets. Maybe you go watch Messi. The other games, you sell the tickets. But what I'm saying is you don't have those diehard CF Montreal, Impact de Montréal fans in the stands. You have people who bought the season tickets to avoid missing out on Messi, and the rest of the tickets, they're going to hand them out to people, friends, maybe sell them. But
here's the problem.
If you really think as an organization, we're all good because we have these 13,000 season tickets sold and we're doing things well,
But even if you have 19,600 people that come watch you every game, do you want to be limited to 19,600 fans? Because I'm going to tell you right now, besides those 19,600 that go to the stadium, if you stop anyone on the street and you ask them for three names of three players on this team, they don't know. My buddies call me and ask me if there's a game. They ask me, where is the game? Apple TV has clearly hurt CF Montreal as well. You are starting to lose fans. People are starting to lose interest. They're starting to say, I never missed a game. Now I don't care when they play. This is a very, very dangerous game that they're playing. How did he react to the comments that he reads from disappointed fans on social media, which is the question he asked? Let's hear his answer.
Listen, okay, go ahead. You have it?
Absolument le droit. Puis les partisans, en tant comme vous levez la barre et on doit être meilleur. Puis ça, j'ai pas peur de le dire. Nous devons être meilleurs. Donc, c'est correct que les partisans ne soient pas contents lorsqu'on n'offre pas les performances qu'ils sont habitués à avoir de notre côté, si les joueurs ne sont pas combatifs. Ça, on prend tous ces commentaires-là, mais sachez que les décisions qu'on prend, comme celle aujourd'hui, c'est pour, dans les meilleures intentions, d'améliorer le club.
All right, there you have it. You want to translate?
Yeah, so he said, listen, I understand fans are upset. They have a right to their opinion, but at the end of the day, we want people to understand that the decisions we're taking are for the best of the club, for what we think is best for the club. But I got to ask you one question, Tony, okay? I got to ask you one question. That the objective of the organization is to buy young players, develop them, and sell them. So you got guys like Opoku that you thought maybe you were going to be able to resell, or Bryce Duke, and this and that. But I want to know one thing. How is this interesting to fans? How do I, as a fan, say, hey, man, I got to go watch this team because this guy, he might get sold?
It's not interesting. It's not interesting. And I'm gonna take it a step further. If next to that player that one day you want to sell, you don't put quality, how is that player's quality going to stand out if that player's young? Kone sold because as good as Kone was and as much potential as he had, he was helped by Jordy Mihailovic next to him. Because if they didn't have Mihailovic, Kone wasn't selling for the amount that he sold.
Of course.
They want to... I don't know.
You got to have the big brothers next to them. If you have in your team, Tony, 1, 2, or 3 players whose objective is to buy and sell, and around them you have a nucleus of veterans, skilled players, that works out fine, which they did have in the past. Right now, you just brought in 15 suspects. We don't know. Are they going to be good? They're not going to be good. Can we lean on them? Can they be leaders? Can they be? We don't know. Who's covering who here on that field? You take out a rookie to bring in another rookie, or you take out one unproven guy to bring in another unproven guy.
They should have did everything in their power to bring Joseph Martinez back. This team last year single-handedly made it to the playoffs because Martinez decided to say, you know what, coach, I don't like you, but I'm going to play for myself. And to everyone who doubted me, watch me now. Put the team on his back. He put the team on his back, and he carried them into the playoffs. I don't want to hear about him. No. Martinez got them into the playoffs last year.
Yes.
This year, they replaced Martinez with Owosu. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm one of the rare ones in the city that I actually think I see something in Owosu that he can help with the profile that he has. But he's no Martinez.
I know.
Of course not. So now, Gabriel Gervais was asked today, why fire the coach today? Why fire him after only 5 games? Let's listen in.
Ça fait 4 semaines qu'on regarde ça. Et c'est vraiment, c'est pas tellement les résultats, le score des matchs, c'est plutôt dans la façon, dans les performances qu'on voyait. On voyait aussi une équipe en manque de cohésion, des joueurs frustrés, manque de combativité à certains moments. Donc, c'est maintenant, on a trouvé que c'était le moment de le faire pour vraiment relancer notre saison.
Okay, so he says, this is unbelievable, by the way. We've been looking at it closely for about 4 weeks now. We were seeing a lack of cohesion. We were seeing a lack of passing, a lack of play. We were seeing players frustrated. He's talking about, among others, he's talking about Caden Clark. Caden Clark, you saw the signs of frustration on the weekend. By the way, when they announced Laurent Courtois' firing today on social media, guess who liked the post?
No.
Shane Gaumont and Master Control.
No.
Do you have it?
No.
His mom and his sister. You can't make this stuff up. The Academy, by the way, liked the post too. The Academy of the CF Montreal. And Grayson Duty, by the way. Grayson Duty, their player as well.
But they probably have something where it's automatic, where as soon as the team posts something, the Academy account automatically likes it. I don't know. I don't know. It's got to be that.
Is his mom, and Addie Clark is his sister.
Right.
They liked the post that Laurent Courtois was fired.
Yeah. So listen, No, but just to get back to what you were saying about Joseph Martinez. Today, the question was asked, about that, the end of last season. And he went back, Gervais, and talked about Pierce and Clark. Never mentioned Martinez. But, Tony, people are not stupid. People are not stupid. How could you not mention Joseph Martinez when you talk about the success that you had at the end of last year? I mean, if you want to be honest with people, you got to just say the truth. I mean, he carried the team on his back. And Tony, it's not the first time that we here in Montreal end things badly with star players. But at the end of the day, you have to deal with a little bit of that because these guys are different types of players, but they put the ball at the back of the net, and that's what you need to win games. Look at the team right now.
I asked Gervais Turner today, what players did you give the coach to help him? What players? Let's listen in.
Je dirais dans la façon qu'on veut jouer et dans le système de jeu, quelqu'un comme Prince Owusu a un meilleur profil en tant que grand gabarit. Il peut tenir le ballon pour nous. Il l'a bien démontré, notamment contre Atlanta. Il l'a bien fait contre DC. Donc, c'est le profil pour la façon dont le coach veut jouer et aussi la façon que nous, le club, on veut jouer. J'enlève rien à Martinez dans ses capacités à mettre le ballon dans le but, mais les joueurs qu'on est allé chercher, c'est pour aller chercher de la profondeur. Oui, on a eu des blessés, mais si je regarde au noyau de joueurs qu'on avait l'année passée, qu'on s'est rendu en série, le noyau de leader est là, le noyau est sur le terrain avec plus de profondeur. Donc nous, dans notre esprit, on a un effectif qui est plus profond, on a dédoublé toutes les positions et on s'attend à plus.
Okay, so, basically I said, what players did you give the coach?
Yep.
You gave him Owosu, who's a downgrade on Martinez. He disagreed. Well, no, Owosu, with the profile that he has, with all due respect to Martinez, that could score goals. We believe that Owosu was a better fit for our team for the way we wanted to play in the profile that he has. I don't buy it, okay? I don't care how big he is. He could be the Jolly Green Giant. Joseph Martinez brings more to a soccer team than Owusu. Number one, even though I kind of like some of the things Owusu brings to the table. Number two, are we talking about Laturi here? No, really. Are we talking about Laturi? Like, you know how many Laturis I could find in League One Quebec? Like, yeah. Are we serious here now? We're talking about Laturi. Here's the deal. But here's the deal. I don't want to defend Courtois because, quite frankly, his style of play was boring.
Yeah, it was not good.
And he was smug with members of the media. And he didn't treat them very well for a guy who had no results whatsoever and no track record whatsoever. So I'm not here to defend the guy, okay? But you can't make chicken salad out of chicken feathers.
Yep.
Okay? They gave him nothing to work with. Nothing. And who did they give him? Oh, we got him Vrioni in the offseason, our DP signing. He arrives here, hurt. He hasn't played a game.
But Tony, they knew he was hurt, right?
I know that. I understand that, but I need you to listen to me carefully.
Yeah.
The guys that they keep on talking about, out of the 2 or 3 best offensive players that they brought in, Vrioni's one that they say he's hurt. He hasn't played a game. Shinchuk, the Ukrainian number 10, he's hurt. He hasn't played a game. So those are your 2 offensive players. You bring in Loturi, that there's a dime a dozen in the world of Loturis. Let's not even count them, with all due respect to him. You bring in Sealy, who hasn't even started every game, all right? You don't even have a right wing back on the team. You got to use the 17-year-old, all right? Because Marshall Ruddy is overrated. Overrated. I don't know. I don't know what people saw. I don't get it, okay? It's an average team. They gave him nothing. They gave him the lowest payroll in the league. And before the players, Shinchuk could even be healthy and play, before Vrioni could even be healthy and play, before the guy gets to come home and coach a game at home with all these guys back, they fired him.
Yeah.
But the writing was on the wall when they hired Donadel. Come on, you're from the streets. I'm from the streets. Where did you grow up? I grew up in Ville Martin. I was raised in LaSalle. Where did you grow up?
Montreal North.
Raised in Montreal North.
Yes.
Are you buying that?
No. Listen, like I said, I'm going to let people decide on that. But, when they talk about profile, because they're talking about Owusu and the profile, he's the type of profile that we want. Okay, at the end of the day, we don't care, right? Does the player score goals? Yes or no? Because when you talk about profile, Tony, let me ask you this. How many wingers are on this team? How many wingers did they bring in over the last year and a half? 10, 12? How many wingers do they have? I want to ask you a question. When you play a 3-5-2, where are these wingers? Like, I mean, if you're playing 4-2-3-1 and you have wingers, it's fine because you're playing with wingers. But when you're playing in a system with two wing backs, they're your wingers, basically.
Yes.
So what are you going to do with all these wingers? You're talking about profile, but we're playing a
But
system.
But they've also taken wingers and tried to convert them to wing backs.
Okay.
Like Lassiter was more of a winger than he was a wing back, and they tried to make him a wing back.
I know, but
they try to make everybody a wing back.
Okay, but if you're going to play with wing backs, and that's the way you're going to play all the time, bring real wing backs.
But hold on a second. But who's to say that they have to play 3-4-2-1 all the time?
But
who are they that they always play with the same formation for the last 4 years? They're Man City? Are they Man City? Have they had the same coach in place for the last 4, 5, 6 years that has a template, that has a style of play, that has a playing philosophy? This was Olivier Renard's playing philosophy that they've continued regardless of who the coach is and regardless of who the players are. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Now, here's the kicker. Gabriel Gervais was asked who was part of the decision to fire Laurent Courtois. Listen to this.
Décision-là, qui faisait partie du processus décisionnel-là?
En fait, c'est Luca, Simone et moi qu'on a pris la décision. Ça a été entériné par notre conseil d'administration et on a pris la décision, on a en fait annoncé aujourd'hui.
Who was part of the decision process? It was myself, it was Luca, and it was Simone, and we went to see the board, and the board approved the firing. So then I asked the question regarding Corey Ray.
Ray is part of the management team.
Yes.
Why wasn't he consulted?
He was part of the discussions, but the final decisions are based on the decisions from Luca, Simone, and myself.
There you go. So I asked him, I go, isn't Corey Ray part of the management team? Because he's the director of soccer. Yes, he was part of the discussions, but in the end, it was myself, Luca, and Simone, and we went back to the board.
Listen, okay, it's clear that, like, Corey doesn't have the responsibilities that maybe some of us would have hoped, because Gabriel Gervais is the president.
He's there for the sake of being there. Stop. Let's put the cards on the table here.
Tony, we have two young men here who are coming out of school who hopefully will become good sporting directors one day. We have Gabriel Gervais, who doesn't have necessarily all the experience that a guy like Olivier Renard. So Corey Ray, when you
is there to show them the way.
Yeah, we're counting on him now,
and make some of his contacts available.
Now the reality is, Tony, okay, and I'm going to repeat this. You talked about this on your show on the radio today, and I had mentioned it to you over the weekend. Is I think Olivier Renard and Vasily, with the amount of money that we gave them, did a pretty good job. Okay, they went to the playoffs 3 times. They missed the playoffs a couple of times by a few points. Whatever it was,
they did miracles.
They did miracles. Okay, now these two guys, you're letting them go. All right, we're moving on. These people are extremely experienced. I've had success. Now you bring in your 2 sons. Now, if Jeff Molson's doing this at the Bell Center, he's giving, Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton their walking papers, all right? And he brings in his 2 sons that are coming out of university and says, all right, you guys are running the show right now. I think the city would be in flames right now, in flames. And I'm not saying these kids are not smart, but I think that they should have been done a step at a time to bring them where they are now. And Tony, if you're going to give them these responsibilities, I'm sorry, but they got to come out publicly. We got to see them. We got to hear from them. When Nick DeSantis was there, he had Richard Legendre on top of him. Now we have Gabriel Gervais and nobody else. If you're going to expose them and you're going to give them these jobs, all right, but they got to come out and answer some questions. It's part of the gig. What can I tell you? And if they're not ready because you don't think that they're at that level yet, we'll let them come up gradually. Yeah. That's what I think.
Today, when they went to see the board and they asked if it was okay if they could relieve Laurent Courtois of his duties, I would ask them right here, right now, on the Sick Podcast, CF Montreal Talk, go back to the board and ask them for some money. Ask them for some money to bring in some players in July, because or else, you know what? Marco Donadel's not going to do well either, because once again, you're playing with the bigs here. When Tom Bogart, the #1 MLS insider in the world, tweets out earlier today that in transfer fees on DPs, that there are teams that have spent between 25 and 45 million on transfer fees for DPs.
In 1 year.
And CF Montreal, between 2014 to 2024, spent 0. It's embarrassing. We're not even playing in the same league anymore. We might as well just say, you know what? Let's pull out and let's go into the CPL. I don't want them to do that because I want to keep on going to see stars, unfortunately, on other teams, but I want to keep on going to see stars. I want to keep on seeing MLS soccer. But Montreal would be so much more fun if Montreal could be as competitive in the MLS as Montreal used to be in the NASL, the USL, the A-League, and every other name that it was called. Anyway, in ending, I'll say this. I wish Marco Donadel the best. I don't think it was all on Laurent Courtois, but I don't think he was ready for this drop or this market. But
Listen,
there's one name.
Gervais said it today. He says, we understand that the job that we're asking our coaches to do here with the budget that we have and the plan that we have is not easy. So it's not going to be easy for anybody coming in.
There's one guy.
At least there's no expectations.
There's one guy that could have re-energized this market, and maybe in the end he would have fallen short. But he would have given them passion. He would have given them energy. He would have given them enthusiasm. And you still would have had Marco Donadel having more time as an assistant to grow. There's one guy. Whenever you're ready.
Nick DeSantis.
Vanni Sartini.
Oh, Vanni.
That's who they should have hired. That's who they should have hired. They should have hired Vanni Sartini.
As a head coach?
Yes.
Listen, I had the pleasure of doing play-by-play on Apple TV for the Vancouver Whitecaps 2 years ago. And Vanni Sartini was absolutely fantastic. Any question I had his phone number. I could text him. He would answer me, give me all the explanations I needed to make sure that on my broadcast I explained things great. Vanni Sartini knew how to put all the media members behind him, to have his back, because he gave them absolutely. I texted him at 10 o'clock at night. He answered back. He was absolutely and the fans loved him. He would do
interviews on BPM Spot. He would do interviews on 98.5. He would do interviews on TSN Radio. He would do interviews in English. He would do interviews in French. He would get the Italian community behind him. He would get all the fan base behind him. His passion, his energy. He's a player's coach. He's a communicator. He gives coaching licenses. He does courses in Italy at Coverciano. I'm sure him and Marco Donadel have crossed paths. They're both Italian. They would have worked hand in hand. Donadel would have been able to learn from a guy who already has experience in the league and knows the league like the back of his hand. That's the guy they should have hired. In the meantime, they didn't. Why? Because nobody calls me. Nobody calls me. That's okay. But you know what? All the best to Marco Donadel. I wish him the best. And Marco, I hope for you that you can do the impossible, which is, if they don't give you a budget, I hope that you will be able to make chicken salad out of chicken feathers. And if you don't, it's not your fault. You'll pay the price, because they all do in about a year and a half's time. But just know right away in advance, it's not your fault, Marco. Jeremy, thank you, my friend. We'll talk to you soon. On that note, thanks for watching the Sick Podcast, CF Montreal Talk. I'm Marinaro, another coach, 11 and 13 years and 5 games. Is this a joke? No, it's reality.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, CF Montreal Talk on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.